to my presentation and go there. Ha! How about that? So this
And
is
we got a message saying that you did start the recording.
Maria Mazza. It's really funny. When I'm in San Pietro Apostolo, I don't have to spell my name for it anymore. But here it's Mary Mazza, M-A, two Z's like pizza. That's what I always say. But when I'm home, there are so many Mary Mazzas. There's only one Mary Mazza. There are a lot of Maria Mazza. And so it's actually very, very interesting to have that. I'm turning my slides with my phone, I hope. Okay, so welcome home. Welcome home. Welcome to the land of your ancestors. Since ancient times, this land has been desired, fought for, conquered, ruled, and lost. It's been known as Ausonia because a mythical son of Odysseus, you know, Ulysses and the sorcerer Circe, apparently he settled in the region. It's been known as Asperia, referring to the western land of ancient Greece. It's been known as Inotria, the land of vines and wine. And this was actually a picture that I took on one of my walks. And it's also been known, of course, as Italy, after Italos, the mythical king of Inotria. Note the spelling, the land of the vines. He apparently, and this ancient land was apparently in the arch along the Ionian Sea and the Gulf of Squillace, which is where I love to go to the beach. Supposedly, he was a grandson of Odysseus as well. So we have all of this Greek mythology and all of these incredible rich history down in the south. So here we are. Calabria is one of the 20 regions in Italy. A lot of people, unfortunately, don't even know where that is. So it's stretched out in the toe of the boot between the Tyrrhenian and the Ionian Sea, a little more than 3 kilometers, just 1.5 miles, across the Strait of Messina from Sicily. It's hilly and mountainous inside, with the highest mountains up here on the border with Basilicata, and then down here toward, this is where Reggio Calabria is right there, the city of Reggio Calabria. These are the Apennine Mountains, and then the southernmost border, and they reach at 6,500 feet. And then, of course, we have the coastline, 800 kilometers, more than 800 kilometers, 500 miles of beautiful, beautiful coastlines and the beaches. The beaches. This is what everyone comes to Calabria for, is the beaches. White, there are all kinds of them. There's white sand, there's dark sand, there's pebbles, there's rocky crags. You can see here, this is darker on the beach. These people don't care. There's beautiful Mediterranean sun, beautiful, incredible emerald turquoise waters that are so deep you don't even know it. You can see rocks below you. You have no idea how deep they are, but they're incredible. So this is Calabria. This is where you come from. Oh, there was something here that was very cool. Wrapped in Greek mythology, tales of pirates, important points of trade, migration, and cultural exchanges. Everybody came here in the past, and everybody still wants to come here. So we go back to that map of Italy, and again, this is Calabria, and we're going to focus on this area right here. That's called the Isthmus, it's called the Isthmus of, or the Saddle of Catanzaro. And it's the land of the two seas, La Terra dei Due Mari, the land of the two seas. It's the narrowest part of the entire country, just about 18.5 miles or 30 kilometers across. And now let's go a little bit closer. And these are the villages of Central Calabria, the internal part, the internal core of Calabria. Of course, there's San Pietro Apostolo, Cicala, Gimigliano. All of these villages should sound familiar because this is where we come from. Decolatura, Serrastretta, Soveria Manelli, Carlopoli, Castagna. Castagna is the village that my mother's family, the Nicotera family, is from. Tiriolo, which was the village that ruled over all of the lands, Amato, and Marcellinara. So we can't really talk about Italy and Calabria and specifically our towns without talking about the history and a little bit about the political history and economic history of the land. Before and after, but before the unification, the country of Italy was a kingdom. And there were different kingdoms all over the place. There were city duchies but a kingdom. There were the haves and the have-nots. And there was inequality, feudalism, illiteracy. Illiteracy was rampant. Tribal mentality, dialects. The towns and villages were all geographically isolated. And you can ascribe the dialects and the different cultures, even just in a town that's 6 kilometers away, to the fact that the mountains are difficult to traverse and they isolated themselves. They're very tribal mentality, and that is a mentality that still follows over. You can still feel it. I feel it in San Pedro Apostolo. Family is everything, and individual families are everything. So the unification was supposed to make everything better, with Garibaldi and the whole thing. Unfortunately, it didn't work out that way. So Italy was united economically. I mean, Italy was united politically, but not necessarily and not at all economically. It still continued to suffer decades of internal strife, foreign rule, heavy taxes, tariffs. These poor people had to pay tariffs on grain that they grew. Violence, social chaos, widespread poverty. After the unification, the South was all but forgotten. They were left to their own. They were left to handle this and figure this out on their own. And that's where, unfortunately, organized crime became bigger, because they at least found someone and some organization, something to help them to get through. There was little hope of improving their existence. It just got worse. Diseases, cholera was rampant, natural disasters, earthquakes. And the new government was not going to be able to fix this. And so it became evident that they needed to leave. And that's what they did. So, and this was the beginning or the continuation of a minor diaspora, but again, in the late 1890s and into the beginning of the First World War, the Italian diaspora was devastating to this region. So it just so happens that this is the Lombardia, the boat that my great-grandfather came over on. And his name is the very first one here on the list. This is the manifest. So how cool is that, right? Unfortunately, that's not my great-grandfather, but because I couldn't find a picture. I can't find a picture of him. One of these days I'm going to come across something. So anyway, from a little bit more about Italian immigration. From 1880 to 1914, 13 million people immigrated out of Italy. 13 million people. During this period, 4 million Italians arrived in the United States. So they went everywhere. They went to Argentina and Australia. They went to Brazil. They went to the Americas. They went to England. They went everywhere. 4 million came here. 3 million of them in just the 14 years between 1900 and 1914. My great-grandparents came in 1902. So mostly from southern Italy, the regions of Abruzzo, Campania, which is Naples, Apulia, Basilicata, and Calabria, and of course from the island of Sicily. Most planned just to stay a few years, and this was something that I didn't know about. Most of them planned on going home. And these people were called the ritornati, the ones who returned. According to this historian, 46% of the Italians who entered the United States between 1899 and 1924 permanently returned home. They wanted just to come, work, make a whole bunch of money, because of course the United States, the streets were paved with gold. And they sent, in that period of time, between $4 million and $30 million every year. And apparently you could really tell in the economy of Calabria the difference between before and after, which I just think is absolutely remarkable. We here in Long Branch, here in the United States, me, you, we are the children of those who stayed. So this is my great-grandfather right here. And this is his one of his daughters, and this is his son. And that's his youngest son, Pietro, of course, who will come into play in just a little bit. So that's his daughter Tessie, Teresa, and his son Pietro. So then that's my dad, who is still with me, and is with me every single day that I am in San Pietro Apostolo, and actually every single day that I'm here in the United States as well. But this is what I grew up with, this sentence right here. You never forget where you come from. You never forget where you come from. We always knew from the time that I could remember, we always knew that San Pietro Apostolo was where we came from. We always knew that it was in Calabria. And every city that we would go to, everywhere we went, we would go to the Italian section to walk into the delis and smell the smells, to get the bread, you never forget where you come from. So this is where I come from. This is where I come from. I just want to introduce you a little bit to San Pietro Apostolo. Situated in the mountains, there are two rivers that converge down below the village, the Corace and the Amato, and it's at about 2,500 feet above sea level. Because of where we are situated down in a valley and on the mountains, we have kind of different things that we can grow. We have excellent exposure to the sun. The climate is mild. In the valley, we have vines, of course, olive trees, grapes, and various other fruit. Come in. And other fruit trees. We have peach trees. To go on a walk is wonderful. You pick peaches, you pick apples, you pick cherries, you have an entire breakfast while you're walking. Higher up, there's chestnut forests, pines, oaks, and fir. And it just so happens that the major economic industries of San Pietro Apostolo are wine, olives, olive oil, fruits like cherries and figs. Fava beans are a huge thing. Everybody, I never understood why my grandfather was so interested about beans in his garden, because beans in San Pietro Apostolo are everything. Even now, how are the beans? Are the beans coming along? Oh, we had no beans. Everything is about the beans. And my grandfather and the beans were everything. Chestnuts and lumber is huge. There are down these mountain roads, huge lumber trucks. And that was one of the problems in the past with the land, was horrendous deforestation. And they were not good stewards of this incredible land. So these wealthy, absent landowners didn't take care of not only the people that were working the land, they didn't take care of the land. There was no crop rotation, there was nothing, and they really didn't care. So Calabria got more and more poor because the land was becoming less and less productive, and they couldn't do anything. So these are the family names from San Pietro Apostolo: Mazza, Tomaino, Sirianni, Ciambrone, Peri, Talarico, Sacco, De Sante, Spingitore, and Grandinetti. That family right there, that's the Ciambrone family. So Raffaele is actually one of those. I don't know which one, and no one can tell me. But Saverio is the man that had my house, and Raffaele is one of them. So I just think that's a beautiful picture. Anyway, this is San Pietro Apostolo. And my father took this picture in 1992, the first time that we ever went to San Pietro Apostolo. My husband and I were stationed in the military in Naples. He was at the NATO base, and I was at the Navy base. And my mother and father, my sister, this is my oldest sister, Lynn, and her husband were also stationed at the NATO base in Naples. My sister Janice was there for a period of time with us, and my mom and dad came to visit. And they said, you know what, we should just go south. We should go south instead of north. We should go see if we can find San Pietro Apostolo. And that's what we did. And this is the first time that we went. Little did I know, when my father stood in the middle of this street right here, that my house would be right here. And this is exactly where I live. So when I miss him even more than I always do, I just head out to the middle of that street and I just feel him. And it's so wonderful to know that he was there, and he still is there. But this is when we discovered and found our family for the first time. It was incredible. They had just eaten, they had just cleaned up. We showed up, they put the sauce on again, they made the pasta, we had a huge deal, and then they brought out the pictures. And it was just one of the most amazing, amazing things. My father, we were sitting at the table, my dad was like, okay, this is good, this is good. Then he saw a picture of his grandfather, my great-grandfather, and said, oh my God, that's my grandfather, and burst into tears. And it became real. And those feelings are priceless. Those feelings are feelings like there's nothing like it on earth. I can still, tears are in my eyes now. I can still see him. Anyway, so we move forward. In 2006, he died. My dad died in 2016 in December. I had just initiated my journey towards dual citizenship. He knew that it was going to happen, and he told me, he said, you do this, you keep going, you keep doing this, because it's a journey. There's no doubt about it. In 2018, 2017, 18, I was able to continue that journey. And then I did get my dual citizenship, which to me is one of, after my marriage, my daughter, and my third, and it's not even, my career is not even up there. So it's this, my marriage, my daughter, and my passport. With that passport though, and I'm very adamant about it, comes the responsibility to learn about the history and to learn the language of my new country. My great-grandparents did it. They had no education, they had no money, they had no resources, they had nothing. And yet they learned to become citizens. They had to know and they had to speak. And so I'm pretty adamant about that. And that has been my journey ever since. So this was in 2019 when we went back because I wanted to try out my passport. So in the summer of 2019, we went back. This is, I don't know, it's kind of fuzzy. This is a cousin that I'd never met before until probably a year prior when we were driving through Hamilton, New Jersey, and just happened to see the Mazza family sign over a furniture store. And anyway, it just blew up from there. This is my great-grandfather's brother's great-granddaughter. And so she wanted to come. We were in Italy, my husband and I, and she wanted to come to San Pietro Apostolo. So she flew in, and we drove down to San Pietro Apostolo and had the most amazing experience. It was like the prodigal family had returned. They opened their hearts, they opened their lives, they opened their wine, they opened their everything. The amount of food that we ate and the amount of people that we kissed and the amount of coffee that we drank, and it was absolutely unbelievable. And this was when we found our house. And so there's my house. It looks a little bit different now. It definitely looks more well loved. And but anyway, so these are all my family. This is just some of my family. And so then, so the story, and my husband tells the story a whole lot better than I do, but we walked in the house for the first time. There it is again. We walked in the house for the first time, and I was like, yeah, this is nice. This is good. And, you know, we're not going to find a house. And I mean, if we move to Italy, it's not going to be in San Pietro Apostolo. There's not a soul that speaks English. You have to want to get there. You have to have a car. It is not the ideal expat, community, right? It's my 80-20 rule. If you can get 80% of the things that you want when you make a decision like this, then you're in a good place, right? Well, this is 20-80. I mean, this is nothing other than family, other than home, other than that feeling. It took my husband 3 weeks to convince me that we should buy this house. And my husband is American from Texas. He doesn't have an ounce of Italian blood in him. He said, we need to buy that house. I said, you are crazy. Anyway, to make a long story short, we bought the house. And in February of 2020, I went back and signed the papers. Now, remember that date, February of 2020, right? So I signed the papers and then spent the next month hoping that we had water that didn't leak all over the house, because there's no home inspections. It's not like that at all. It's a totally different world. And your expectations have to be different. But now that I'm there, it would be easy for everybody. um, so anyway, so I spent the next month working on the house, and then of course, again, meeting friends and family, and just becoming and assimilating into this amazing culture and family. I got home back to the United States 3 days before the world shut down. And I was devastated. I was like, well, we're supposed to go back. We're supposed to go back in a month. How are we going to do this? And there was no way. There was no way. But we did, because of my Italian citizenship. And because he's married to me, my husband is married to me. He was that, because they don't separate families, he was then able to come with me. So in July of 2020, we got there. And they delivered pizza to us. They delivered groceries. We had to quarantine for 2 weeks because this was, of course, before the shots and before anything. We painted our house. We painted the house. We had beautiful dinners on our patio. And then finally we were released. And it was like a kid released from school after a long year. It was amazing. This is what we would find on our doorsteps. Just the fresh fruits and vegetables from gardens. It was just amazing. And that's been our journey ever since. We've been going back every summer since the summer of 2020. So now just talk a little bit about San Pietro Apostolo. These are the haves, the definite haves. So in 1623, there was a devastating earthquake in Calabria. Devastating. And a little town called Monte Santa Lucia, which is a little bit further north and a little bit further a little bit closer to the sea. The whole town was just totally devastated. But this is where our people come from. This is where San Pietro Apostolo, the people that pulled San Pietro Apostolo, came from. They had to ask the Prince of Chicona, who had a few years prior bought not only Tiriolo, but bought all of the lands. Remember, this is feudalistic, right? So one guy owns everything. Everybody that works, any of his lands work for him. So high taxes, they get a little square. And even then, because nobody had taken care of the land, they were starving as a result of this feudalism, as a result of all of this. So they had to ask the prince if they could move to San Pietro Apostolo and settle. It just so happens about 100 years earlier, a French settlement had been abandoned. Now, this is during the time in the 1500s, the Italian Wars. The French and the Spaniards at this point were the ones that wanted them, and the Austrian Habsburgs. So, I mean, everybody has always wanted this land and has always fought for it. But 100 years prior, they had abandoned this area in Calabria, in Italy. And so the prince said, well, yeah, because you can work it, you can pay me, and this is going to be great. And so that's what they did. And they found a statue among the ruins there of San Pietro Apostolo, and that's how we got our name. So it's a land that's rich. The costumes, there's a beautiful museum in Tiriolo with the clothing and the castle, and it's absolutely amazing. And then you see pictures of the peasants and the people who were working this land. It's absolutely unbelievable, the disparity between the two. So, but this is our land. This is I think this is the Corace River. This is my friend Angelo Mazza, not related, but he's a shepherd, and he's wonderful. And these are just our valleys. Just you have to try to understand how beautiful it is. Wealthier families there are 5 grain mills, because all of the hills that we see now that don't have anything really growing other than wild, were all covered with grain. And people have said that Calabria, the region of Calabria, could feed the entire country of Italy. But unfortunately, they didn't take care of the land. And so, but during that time, 5 mills were built down on the river, and the rivers were obviously higher. Where the rivers converged, they had the mills, and they would grind the grain to make the flour. And the women, when you come, you'll see the steep paths that they had to walk barefoot with baskets on their head. It's just amazing, the strength of the women in San Pietro Apostolo is absolutely amazing. But this is from my front window right here. And this is down from the piazza, the view. So beans, again, there's the fava beans. I think they're called broad beans here, I think. Chestnuts. Chestnuts are huge, huge economic thing. Cherries, olives, lumber, sheep, goats, and pigs. Everybody at one point had a pig. And it wasn't until, I would say, the late first of all, 68 was when they first got running water in the village. And that doesn't mean in their houses. It means like fountains of water that were piped in to like the piazza or to various places. And then slowly then people started to get water in their house. And then I was going to say something. And then before that, oh yeah, everybody had pigs. Everybody had pigs. And it wasn't too long ago, I would say just before the water came, maybe, that the town said you can't have pigs in town anymore. And so the pigs had to go out of town. But everybody raised pigs to make sausage, to make nduja, to make all of the deliciousness that we have that gets them through their winter. So this is the ginestra plant, which is just amazing. And these are silkworms. Silkworms. Well, actually, the cocoons of the silkworm. These are two amazing industries with amazing histories. Before the Crusades, in the 1400s, 1300s, Calabria was 50% Jewish. The Jewish roots in Calabria are absolutely amazing, amazing. And that is another story that I can tell. But they are the ones that taught our people how to make fabric out of this plant. This is called the ginestra, and it's a very fibrous plant that in the springtime, it's just all of the mountains are just covered with this gorgeous yellow. But they taught the process, and then everybody had a loom in their house because everybody made their own fabrics. And so that's some fabric that's made with the fibers of the ginestra. And then of course the silk. Everybody had silkworms. Everybody had to feed them with the leaves of the gelso, which are white mulberry trees and leaves. And so my cousin Franca, you can feel a dent on her head where she would carry the basket that is just filled with leaves from the white mulberry trees to feed the silkworms. Because that's all they do is they eat and then they die. They eat, they spin, and then they die. It's really quite an amazing thing. In San Floro, which is just about 30 minutes away, closer to Catanzaro, they are these three really cool young people who left and then came back because they wanted to give back to their communities. They have rebirthed, rediscovered the beautiful art of making silk, and they are just absolutely amazing. And we can go there, and we have gone there multiple times to see the process of the silkworm, and then they have the most amazing dinner afterwards with everything brought. Everything made from there on their property and agriturismo. It's absolutely amazing. So silk was brought over by Byzantine monks and became huge, not only in this region of Calabria, but in Sicily. But our silk from San Pietro Apostolo and from this region, they would bring the cocoons down to Catanzaro, and then they would weave. They would get the silk and then weave from there. Some of the best silk and the most desired silk in all of Europe. So these are our two churches, our beautiful Chiesa Madre, and then our Madonna del Carmelo. And this is, you all recognize this, yeah? This is thanks to you. Thanks to you. This is a plaque thanking the society for helping to restore the church in 1999. Mm-hmm. The 29th of June. So this was to help restore, I think, the pews, actually. And then the Madonna del Carmelo, which came, this was built in the 1600s and then has been restored a number of times. That one was in the 1800s. So we have the Feast of San Pietro Apostolo in June and the Feast of the Madonna del Carmelo in July.
That restoration on the church where the plaque is, it was not just the pews. They did the painting, They did a lot of interior work with
Wonderful.
that. They would have a dinner dance fundraiser here
Isn't
at
it amazing?
Sirianni's Friendly Cafe. And our family, yeah. And they would raise money every year and they would send it over. And the last thing that if my brothers can correct me, the last thing that was done was the pews.
Oh, okay.
It was a lot.
A lot. Where, did you guys do the bell tower too? Was it at the bells? Yeah, that's what I thought. Because now we have our beautiful bells, but they're.
Oh, Cristiano.
So her family name is Venturino.
Right.
When she went there, when my family went there, and she said, and they arrived, and she said to somebody, we're looking for, she didn't know at the time, her family, and they said, oh my God, and they took her in the train station up the mountain,
Right.
to the family. There was a restaurant or something up there, I think, and so, but my parents are both gone, and
I know, that's what
So
we have,
hard.
that's why this project is so important.
but she always was Saint Pietro Apostolo
Right.
and Sacco.
And the Rocky Bonaparte and Angie Bonaparte were all, when they came back,
Yeah.
they spearheaded this group.
It's just so
And they
wonderful.
did the fundraiser. to
Just
support the
wonderful.
church.
Yes,
Our
Monsignor.
Aunt Susie,
Wait, I want to make sure that everybody can hear all of this because of, like, all of the virtual people.
our Aunt Susie Falvo and Uncle Peter, who were both from San Pedro, they came back and there were a lot of people, Angie Bonaparte being one of them, upset because as the priest was celebrating mass in that church, the sacristan stood behind him with an umbrella because it was raining.
I heard that story.
And everything came, was falling on the altar and everything. So that is one of the reasons why a lot of people rallied in Long Branch and the surrounding area. It became a really a big event in the
It's a big
community.
deal, and it's a big deal for us every time we walk into that church to see the placard to remember. And not for me as much, although I am forever grateful, but those people of San Pietro Apostolo are so thankful for their church. The church is the center of everything, even if they don't go every Sunday or Saturday night. The church is everything. Father Anthony, JT quotes you all the time about they breathe Catholic air there. It's just everywhere. They breathe Catholic air. So we also celebrate the Madonna della Lettera. And this was interesting to me because she is actually a patroness of the city of Messina in Sicily. But apparently, a long time ago, a family from Messina took refuge after the earthquake, the big devastating earthquake of 1700s, in San Pietro Apostolo as well. They brought the Madonna della Lettera with them, and she has been celebrated ever since. So, and I never knew the story of the Madonna della Lettera. I mean, they're like blessed mothers of everyone. They're everywhere, right? Well, this one apparently, and here it's very cool. According to tradition, in the 1st century AD, the people of Messina sent an embassy to Jerusalem to meet the Blessed Mother, asking for a blessing. She reportedly gave them a letter written in Hebrew, blessing their city and its people, and it was signed with the words, "We bless you and your city." And so that's the Madonna della Lettera. So the statue that we have in her very own chapel is holding a letter. So these are our traditions. This is one of the processions. And actually, we have this during her feast as well. There's our cherries too. But immigration continues. We continue to lose a lot of people, lack of jobs and infrastructure. Send people to the north as well as to other countries. They need to support their families. They need jobs. They need money. They don't want to go. I mean, you talk to people that they don't want to leave, but they have to. And how can they take care of their families if they can't? It's the same story as when my great-grandfather left. So there are those who stay behind and those that leave and then return. And they return maybe because maybe this is the same thing for me. Maybe the world's not quite as shiny as they thought. Maybe the streets weren't paved with quite as much gold as they thought that they were. They want to raise their families in a small town. They want to teach their children traditions. They want to teach them family values. They want to breathe clean air and eat clean food. And I think that's where, well, that's definitely where I was at this stage of my life when I went home. Just tired of the noise and tired of it all. And this is a place where you can go to find that peace. And so our traditions continue here in San Pietro Apostolo, and I expand that to the other villages in this area as well. Family, food, community, they're too precious to lose. And each generation drifts further away. Like you were saying, your mom and dad are gone now. It's like, how do we perpetuate this? We have to hold on to these things. We have to teach our kids. They have to know, and they can never, ever forget where they come from. So it's with a desire to return to simple, to clean. People are seeking authenticity and tradition and roots. And again, like my father said, you never forget where you come from. And that's where this project came from. And I tried to ignore the little niggle on my shoulder for 2 years. I tried really hard because I'm retired. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do anything, but it's what you have to do. It's what I had to do. When I thought and think of the tenacity and the courage of my great grandparents, people have told me, Mary, like what you've done, it's like, that takes a lot of courage. I'm like, no way. I am an educated woman with money who can, they were absolutely, the highest that they went was 3rd grade, right? That's the highest education they had. And my grandfather went over, it's on the manifest, $8 in his pocket and the clothes on his back. That's courage. And look at what he did. Look at what they did for us. It's because of them, we are able to have this life and all of the opportunities that we've been able to have. Did they plan to return? I want to think that my great-grandfather thought that he was going back. I don't know, but he didn't. He couldn't. Did they know that they would never see their family again? Turns out my great-grandmother died in childbirth with her 5th child. And my great-grandfather was left with 4 little kids in a country alone. How do you do that? How do you do that? But he did. They sacrificed everything. And so that little niggle on my shoulder said, Mary, it's time for you to give back. It's time for you to give back and thank them for their courage by helping to rebuild my town, helping them to rediscover all of the things that they love so much about it. So this is just, now the rest of these pictures are people that came back. John, you're in it. Beth, you're in it. Came back in 2024 because that's the year that we kind of really got started. And this year is going to be another big year. This is my cousin Frank and his wife. This is actually Heather's second time. They're coming back again next year or this year as well, which I'm very excited because they're going to help us pick olives in November. So they're going to be with us for the olive harvest. But Frank and the Nicotera family is from the small village of Castagna just down the road. So this is karaoke in my cousin's restaurant. There we are on the bench. We have a big bench. It's part of the Big Bench Project. So go to bigbenchproject.org. And it's actually wonderful throughout Italy and just recently in the south, but definitely more in the north. There are these giant benches that are situated and chosen. The places are chosen to be some of the most amazing visual spots and visual places. From here, you can see both the Ionian and the Tyrrhenian Sea. So this is just where we live. These are the rivers. This is our walks. There's Frank and a cherry tree, as they were there with us for the Cherry Festival last year, which is very cool. Every year on June, it's the 3rd weekend of June. Actually, I don't know if it's the 3rd, whatever. It's the 15th. Is the Cherry Festival, and we celebrate the fact that cherries were such an important part of who we are and what we're doing. And so, if you have happened to look at the website, there's the Cherry Blossom Project. And that's why I've almost finished 100 of them. And I have probably the same amount in Italy that I've been working on. I'm like really ready to be done with the cherry blossoms. Just going to put that out there. So, but this is the sausage and pepper sandwich because that's like who we are. And then of course, Frank getting a haircut. which he loves that picture because you can totally see his bald spot, which I think is hysterical. These are other friends that came. Miss Tessie was actually my daughter's early learning Montessori teacher, and then Mary she owns the school now, and so they just said, yeah, we'll come and see, and they did, and it's an adventure, and they were able to see a different kind of Italy than they would have otherwise been able to see. So there's Mary at the loom at the Silk Museum in San Floro, which is just amazing. There's the bench. So you can see, and the idea is that you remember, remember Gilda Radner? My name is Edith Ann. Well, it's the whole thing. It's where you see the world from a totally different perspective, and everything looks different from up on that bench, and it's wonderful. So there's ice cream, and then we cook. I cook a lot. This is a church. We actually have a minor basilica in a town called Porto, which is a frazione of Gimigliano. And this minor basilica is to the Madonna di Porto, and she is a Madonna from Constantinople. It's absolutely, you walk in there, you're like, wait, where am I? I'm in the middle of nowhere, and there's this incredible, beautiful basilica with this mosaic that is just outstanding. Just beautiful. This is my little house where I have hosted. This, I think, was a gathering of 25 people. I can't even believe that I put 25 people in there. But you know what? There's always room for somebody else at the table. There's always room for another plate. And so I cook a lot. And these are the Lucias from Canada that came to visit. And I think that's their son. I was in the kitchen. I just kept cooking. This is my cousin Sabrina, who came home. Another one that I had no idea. Remember, I told you that the little boy that was standing there with my great-grandfather in the beginning, and I said, pay attention, because that's his granddaughter, who I had never met. And so she came and just absolutely had an experience like she couldn't even describe it.
Mary, that's the baptismal font.
That is the baptismal font from
most of our families and grandparents and great-grandparents
were baptized in that. And that's the green marble from Gimigliano. And so and there's a sign down here.
Dates back to,
I think it dates back to
1700s?
No.
17, it's in Roman numerals,
1748.
I think so, or 20, I don't remember which one.
1700s.
But yeah, but my great-grandparents were buried there. They were married in this church. I mean, just I go to mass there every week, and I just like, oh my God. It's just unbelievable to feel like this. So Sabrina was able, this is another cousin of mine, Antonio Celli, and he has the most beautiful garden. And so Sabrina was able to go, and she said this was like a highlight, an absolute highlight of not just her trip to Calabria, but her trip to Italy, of all of Italy. And God bless him, Antonio speaks only dialect. And I have to have my cousin Franca there to help me sometimes, because I'm doing okay with it, but it's a totally different world. What's interesting is that when my grandfather spoke Italian, which he could because of course his father spoke Italian to him, he spoke in ancient San Pietrese, ancient, which they don't even understand now. But I was trying to take Italian while I was working on my bachelor's at the university. And I would try to talk to him, and he would say something back, and I'm like, I couldn't understand a word that he said. And he couldn't understand anything that I was saying. It's only Mussolini who decided that everyone in Italy should speak Italian. And it was then that they started to unify the language. But what is that, in the 30s and 40s? And think about that. So again, more cousins. And so Sabrina was able to meet, these are all cousins of ours. This is Carla, and there's Anna, and her mom, Maria. She's Maria Mazza. And here's our big bench. This is the museum at the Silk, and that's the sign, the entrance to it. And I got to make pizza for 80 people. And so there's a wood fire oven at one of our friends' house. He emigrated when he was in his 20s to Australia. And so we became friends with his brother. And then he, of course, when Tony came back from Australia, he invited us, and we've been friends ever since. But I get to make pizza, and so I get to do it again this year too. And that's Giuseppe, who helped me with the oven because it's just too much. And these are just more friends eating pizza because that's what we do. And this is me after it was all over. Oh my God. So these are friends who have no ties to San Pietro Apostolo at all. They have no Italian in them. They wanted to come and see. They're coming back this year because they loved it so much. He actually almost bought a house, but then it didn't work out exactly right. But I have a feeling, right, Todd? If you're hearing me, he's on the call. I'm hoping. They absolutely loved it. So these are just more visions. This is my niece, Abigail, who came, and she's a biology major. She found things that you wouldn't even, like she found little crabs and little frogs and little things in the rivers. And you get to see, I got to see our rivers and our wildlife in a way that I had never seen before. And it was just wonderful. Well, and then the Wild West Distillery came to town. So my husband is a cowboy reenactor. He does those shows in the streets, where people die and all of that. So we decided to bring the Wild West Distillery to town. And so we have a troupe of cowboys. Last year we brought 2 70-pound bags of cowboy gear, and we're bringing another 2 70-pound bags this year of boots and hats and outfits for both women and men. And we are having an absolute ball. This is Enrico Siriani. I don't know if he's part of your family or not, but that's Enrico Siriani. And this is Nunzio Perry. Franco Perry is his dad, John. I don't know if that's you or not, but there's our guys. And we did a photo shoot just to introduce them, and we brought bandanas and hats and things, and they dressed up. JT made the jail. My husband made the jail there. And it was like they turned into like totally different people. It was absolutely a riot, and they loved it. So here's our this is my cousin Diego, and he takes it. They all take it pretty seriously, but oh my goodness, the fun that we have.
We can send my brother Joseph over. That's all.
So we had 2 official shows and a photo shoot, and we just had, that's my husband. We just had the best time. I have to say, it's way more fun in Italian than it is in English. If you go to the website, the 2 videos of the 2 shows are on the website. So, look at who's this family that came home. This is the Peri Tomaino family that came home. And this was just, we had the best time, didn't we? It was the best. And there we are on the bench, because you have to have a picture of the bench. And there they are. This is the family gathered down where that's the family house and the family place down there, right, John? Yeah. And so it was just the best. It was the epitome of everything that I want this to be. And you can't look at these pictures. Look at John right now. You just can't look at these pictures without smiling and without remembering and without feeling that feeling. And that's what I want people to feel. So this is the family. This is a Siriani family from Australia. So they came from Australia, which was very cool. And then, of course, my mother. This is my mother. We just days at the beach. And so you can do a whole bunch of things, or you can do a whole bunch of nothing. But the beach days are just absolutely amazing. Mom, I'm hoping that you're seeing this right now. And so again, more cousins of ours and more eating, of course. And so we make, we're drying figs. So we picked figs, and then we make tomatoes. So making a tomato sauce, which is to me, just everything, because now when I go back there on Monday, I get to have tomato sauce. The sauce is amazing. There's nothing like the food over there. So, and we picked mushrooms, because in about August, when it starts to rain, it has to dry for a day, but then you go out with somebody who knows. But I remember my grandfather picking mushrooms, and I never knew why or how, but it's a big deal. So at this particular time of the year, you're driving down the road and you see cars stopped and people with baskets. You're like, what are they doing? They're picking mushrooms. Porcini mushrooms, which are just amazing. This is Tommaso. He comes every Saturday with a cheese truck. And this is my mom and her best friend at one of our bars with our beautiful, beautiful barista, Daniela. It's beautiful. And Tommaso, he tells me, he says, you have to eat more cheese because I need to feed my family. So I just go there and buy cheese even if I don't want it, because God bless him. God bless him. And then the cheese is so good and so fresh. It's squeaky. It's so fresh. My mom, God bless her. She wants to come back again. She's been there like 4 times. So we do cooking classes. So if you want, you can do a cooking class. And this is my mom teaching people how to eat. So this is my friend Santina, and Santina is my partner in crime with this project. Without her, I could do nothing. And Santina just happens to be a cousin of John. And so it's just absolutely wonderful. Look at my mom with those aprons. I just love it. I love it. Again, we're eating. So these are more people that came, friends of ours from Idaho, and their friends have absolutely no Italian link or blood or anything. They wanted to come and experience this. And they told me, and they did. They had an amazing, amazing experience. It's not, standing in front of the Leaning Tower of Pisa or in front of the Colosseum and taking the same pictures that everybody takes. It's an authentic Italian experience where you're truly immersed in all of it. And of course the bench, because you have to have the bench. More pictures of the Silk Museum. And this is how they used to, they would put the cocoons in this pot of boiling water, and then that's how they would extract the silk off of the cocoons. And kilometers and kilometers and kilometers of silk, all in one line with no knots, no tears, no anything. It's unbelievable. Huh? It's just amazing. It's just amazing. So this is my friend Giuseppe Siriani, who is holding up, because we're going to greet these people, but we have a little sign for the airport that says, come home to Calabria, welcome home, which I think is a very cool thing. But this is Giuseppe, who has started a transportation business. And so he has the van that he's then able to take people. So we've given him a job. And so he is able to take people out on their tours because I don't have a car big enough for people. Plus, it's a job for him. We are also able to give a job to 1 or 2 or 3 translators in town. We're also able to give jobs in town to the people who are cleaning the house that we bought for this project, as well as my house. But so the idea is that we're generating income, and then the more people that come, the more people go to the grocery stores, and the more people that. The idea is that we are able to generate income, and then subsequently we'll generate jobs to rebuild our community. So this is the family Ronca and Thompson, actually, and they came home to Calabria looking for their family in a town just about an hour south called Philadelphia, spelled with an F. And what's interesting is that after a devastating earthquake in the 1700s, late 1700s, their city was totally destroyed, and they wanted to rebuild. It was a priest actually said, we got to rebuild. They moved it a little bit, and they looked at the plans that for the Philadelphia in the United States, and they copied the city from exactly those plans. So you walk in the city of Philadelphia, and it's the strangest thing. There's the big square with the churches, and it's absolutely amazing. So anyway, this is them in front of, that's Santina's house, which is just right across the street from mine. But there's the van that Giuseppe has. And so we greeted them with a dinner in their kitchen, which they were like, wait, what? Because they only thought they knew what food was. And so this is in front of the municipal building, where we were then able to discover, and we searched. They had some that we could go on, some information, and then we just searched, and it was amazing until we finally found it. And we found it. We found their roots, and they're the last of their family, which is just amazing. And so these 2 guys had heard that we were coming into town because Santina and I had gone first, kind of like on a scouting trip. And they heard we were coming to town, so they met us there. And then they subsequently brought us to the other only living relative in the family. So it was again unbelievably emotional and just absolutely amazing. And then of course we went to Pizzo for ice cream. Pizzo is a town. It's called Pizzo Calabria, and it's the home of the tartufo, which is this giant ball of ice cream with this beautiful creamy inside that's like, oh, and it's registered. So if it's not from Pizzo, it can't be called tartufo. And it's, as my husband, it's really good. It's really good. So you have to have it. And then of course the bench. And this is our sunsets up there are absolutely stupendous, unbelievable. A cooking class because they wanted to take a cooking class. And of course, then we all sit around the table and eat and drink a lot of wine. So it's just always an experience. My daughter came home. I was very excited about that. Very, very excited. So there we all are on the bench. And she brought her boyfriend and her boyfriend's family, who I think are all on the call as well. Hello, guys. Which is very cool. So Gabriella was actually able to experience some of this. Of course, nobody can feel this as much as I do. She keeps reminding me of that. But she was able to experience that feeling of coming home. That's her. So not only did Gabriella rediscover and discover her roots, but Brody's dad, he unfortunately broke his knee just prior to, but Brody's father is from a small town called Montefusco, which is just south, a little bit south of Benevento, which is more near Naples. So it's a little bit further north than us. We went to Benevento and we went to Montefusco and just, again, had amazing, amazing times. This is Gabriella and my cousin Franca. She's the one with the dent on her head. But it was just an absolutely overall amazing, amazing experience. Again, at my table. And I can't tell you how small this space is. But there's always room for somebody. And this is when we were saying goodbye at the train station. Now, this is a woman, her name is Yolanda Bentham, and she's from England. And she, again, her ties to Italy are very interesting in that her father, who is not Italian, but he was detained in the detention camp during the Second World War for Jews because he was Jewish. So he was a physician who was going to school in Genova, and they gathered him up and brought him to this detention camp in Tarsia, called Ferramonte. An amazing, amazing story. And because of Yolanda, I was able to dive even further into the Jewish history, the history and the Jewish roots of Calabria. But Yolanda came home. I met her actually at the camp because it's a really cool museum now. Which is about an hour and a half north of us, and met her at the camp, had an amazing tour, looked at all these amazing pictures, and then came back and went to the synagogue. Now, this is my friend, Rabbi Barbara Aiello. She's actually a dual citizen like I am from Pittsburgh. She's a generation, actually 2 generations closer. Her father came from the village called Serastretta, which is just literally, I walk there. JT walks there, not so much me anymore. But she has started, she's a Jewish rabbi, and she has started the first Jewish synagogue in Calabria in over 500 years. Wow. It is absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And she's in Serastretta, so we can go there. It's just absolutely amazing. The synagogue itself is beautiful. I actually went to a bar mitzvah before I came back. It was absolutely amazing. The history and the roots of it all. Just amazing. I can't even describe it. And then this woman I met on an airplane on the way back, because you know how I talk. I met on an airplane on the way back 3 years ago, and she came. Her name is Loretta, and she's from Ohio. And we were on a trip, just going around. We went to Squillace because she wanted to see the ceramics, and then we went to the beach, and just kind of an all-around. Oh, we also went to the archaeological park, which is amazing, and the history is unbelievable. But we were there in the shop and talking, and these 2 girls came, and they were just in Calabria. They wanted to do something different. And so they just decided, I don't know how they did this. They're young girls with families, and they just said, we're taking off for a month. Who does that? In their 20s? I don't know. But they did. And so we met them, and it was so cool. She was actually a potter, and she sat at the, I don't know if I have pictures. I don't know if I put them on, but she sat at the wheel, and the man who makes all of the ceramics helped her, and she made a pot, which was just very, very cool. So this is the archaeological park. That's Loretta. This is a Norman castle. I'm sorry, Norman church, a big church, the ruin of a Norman church, because Normans were everywhere. And this again is the ruins that we have around. It was just amazing. And then of course you have to end up at the beach. This is Catanzaro Lido, which is just beautiful, just absolutely beautiful. So as far as I'm concerned, all roads lead to San Pietro Apostolo. I don't know if you can see this or not, but my mom and I actually made this. We found this and we just had to add that. So, and that is just absolutely all roads lead home. And so that's a really, really good picture of the village. And my whole thing is that these traditions are they're just too rich and too beautiful to lose. We want to welcome you back, children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren of those that left. We want to help you discover your story, your history, and your roots. Experiential, immersive experience where you can live and feel and become a part of the place. And then on a bigger scale, to give back to the ones who gave you everything. They gave you the opportunities that you have had. We need to honor those sacrifices. And that's where it comes from. Let's hope this comes through. I don't know if you can hear it. That's the piece of the Manolo. And they are just the best, the absolute best. And so that's what I have. So thank you so much for your attention and also your interest. So, I wanted to show you this too. I want to, and see if I can. I don't know if I can. Probably not. I wanted to walk you through the website a little bit. The website is www.comehometocalabria.com, and you can see a whole bunch of the things. You can see a lot of these same pictures, but then you can also see experiences and trips and just more pictures and a little bit more about the history of where this is coming from and why I decided to do this. So yeah, Monsignor.
I just want to say that my brother Anthony ran a trip. I mean, we had 2 buses, and part of the trip was to stop at St. Peter's.
Because of course you should.
Okay. And they had arranged through our cousin Ralph Jumbo at his brother's restaurant.
Great, which is unfortunately
I know it's closed, but a banquet for us.
right.
And then we had mass in the church. Well, at the end of the tour, it was really a beautiful tour. My brother and his travel agent put together a very nice trip. But many people came up to me and said, you know, my family is from Italy, but I never knew where. And although I'm not Calabria, so this is not my hometown,
It feels
I
like
never
it.
felt so much at home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was
Exactly. That's exactly it. That's exactly right. It's just come home. And there's no feeling like it. There's none at all. We have on the website, you can see we've actually bought a second house there to house people and to host people. I'm waiting for my nonprofit status because I'm hoping that will happen. And I think that's going to help us a lot. We're trying also to become a nonprofit in Italy as well to help regenerate and rebuild. I have a project in mind, and actually I have it written out as a concept note. You can talk to me about it. We need a library and we need a community center. And so that's where we're aiming. I really want to bring women out of their houses. Men are socializing all over the place. Do you see them everywhere? They're playing cards, they're playing dominoes, they're drinking, they're doing whatever they do. Where are the women? Where are the women? And they're in their houses doing. They need to come out and they need to teach our young women how to do the things that they know how to do, which is crochet, which is to make lace, which is all of our traditions, to weave. We're losing it all. And I don't want to lose it. I don't want to lose it. So. Yeah, exactly. And so that's what I want. I want the nonnas to have a place where they can come. Another thing that's really interesting, and I can say this, and I can say this, you know, like when women's husbands die and they become widowers. Here, my mother became the consummate church lady. I mean, just all over it, right? Just church lady, whatever. They don't do that there. They just sit. They just are by themselves and wait for their family to come. They need a reason to come out. And this is what I want. I want this place for them, and I want this purpose for them so that they can teach. They have so much knowledge and so much insight, and I want them to be able to do that, to have a place so that they don't feel like, oh, I'm done. They're not done. We have so much to do. So, yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
Yes, I've been to Calabria. And
Oh, I'm
you
so
brought
glad.
back many wonderful memories. But I wanted to ask you a question.
Oh, sure.
How do you go about this, getting your passport, your, dual
It's,
citizenship?
Right. So they've just actually recently changed the rules for that, which is unfortunate. So I was able to go back to my great-grandfather to do it. I would not be eligible for this, for my citizenship now. You can only go back 2 generations now. And then there's also this little caveat that your grandfather could not have been a minor when his father renounced his Italian citizenship. They're making it extremely difficult. So we can talk about your particular situation. I can certainly help you with that, but it is, it's something. Yeah, please.
So just to add to that, so if you go on the website for the National Italian American Foundation, there is a lot of information on there on how to become a dual citizen with today's new rule, because they just changed all the rules. Also, there's several people who run private companies that will do it for you at a cost, process all the paperwork and what have you. There's one woman who's affiliated with NIAF. She owns her own company called Your Italian Passport. Her name is Lauren Hopkins. So, you can look her up as well. But those are 2 resources, because in the beginning, they used to make it very difficult. Then they eased everything up and made it very easy for a lot of folks to change the rules. Then too many people, according to the Italian government, were becoming dual citizens, and it was causing some issues. And now they just went back to the original rules. It became much more stringent again. So again, National Italian American Foundation, or you can look up Lauren Hopkins and her company.
Anybody? Yes?
I just want to thank you. I think this meeting was 46 years in the making, but I've been looking for someone to have a story here. So thank you so much for
Thank you.
hosting.
Thank
While I was on my phone, I was actually booking my appointment that you just referenced before. So one question I did have is renting a car. I was in Calabria this year, and
I can help you with
I
that.
couldn't go far enough north, but you have.
I can help you with that. Yeah. That's just the thing with me being there now. I can make trips a whole lot easier. And that's one of my goals I just want people to come, and I'll do whatever I have to do to get you there, to keep you there, to house you there, to feed you there. I just want you to feel this. Again, we're hoping to be a nonprofit. So, it's donations and that's all, I can explain that all as well. But the idea is, and I get nothing, I don't want anything. It just would mess everything up if I made money. I don't want any money. I want the people in town to have money, and I want to generate jobs for those people in town. And that's what this is all about. And then also, of course, to bring you all home. So yeah, just be in touch. Rachel, you have the box of cards. In fact, they're right here. So I have cards to give to everybody. There's also bags that we've made so that you can help support us as well. So and they're here in the behind the screen. So our San Pietro Apostolo-Come home to Calabria bags. They're $15 a piece or 2 for $25. My husband said I had to make it deal. Yes, ma'am. Pardon me?
Italian American. My mother was born in Calabria.
Wonderful.
My father was born in Naples. So
Wonderful. Have you been home?
we were home, yes, it was 3 years ago.
Wonderful.
I just have to say, I was a completed utter peace. We went to Easel, and my husband's Irish, so he's, but our complete word was tranquilo.
Tranquilo, exactly. It's just beautiful.
It's absolutely.
You can do something or you can do nothing. And to do nothing is, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon in San Pietro Apostolo, you hear nothing. It's my favorite time because it's so quiet. It's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. So please here are cards and just ask me anything.
So if I could ask everyone, I think you're wrapping up, right?
Yes.
So whenever the society does something, we write newspaper articles and we send them to various outlets. The Italian Tribune, the Link News, We the Italians, which is based in Rome, and several other outlets. And we're somewhat of a regular in the Italian Tribune. I would like to take a group photo of everybody. It'll take 1 minute, literally. If everyone can just stand in the back there in front of those 2 tables, we'll get a nice group shot and you'll be in the newspaper and you'll be famous for 30 seconds.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Let me turn this off.
That's a good question.
Well, people can Zelle money to me if they want to. Rachel, do you have cards? Okay, you do.
You can get the whole ceiling. Walk, I'm saying. Just make sure you get it. Tighten it up. Oh, that looks very clean, right? No, right? She don't want to be in the picture. Your mama. Ah, come on, get in. Get in. All right, Catherine, get your picture. Gotta get a picture. Come on, run. Is everybody ready?
Yeah, everybody, let's sit down.
I love you. We're cousins.
I think I got it. Hang on. Took 6. Don't move. Come on, Joe, go to the picture.
We're gonna send you.
All right, we're good. Do we have, picture's good. Do we have any elected officials in here?
The mayor of Eatontown.
Anybody else? We always notate. A priest, a monsignor, okay. Before people leave, feel free to get some more coffee if you want, if there's any food left over. There's limoncello in the back, limoncello samples in the back. Get a little limoncello.
That's very good.
And thank you for coming.
Very good. Thank you.
Oh,
Absolutely. It's changed a lot of ways. Yeah.
Yes,
Tremendous.
I know.
Actually, we wouldn't throw you. I'm gonna hit the road, but the most impressive thing she showed. The list of family names. Yes, I noticed that too. Every one of them. It's like incredible.
I want to give you this before I forget it. All at home.
You go?
Bye.
Thanks, Catherine. I'll take a look at this tomorrow.
Okay, great.
Okay, welcome to your car? The thing that most impressed me, she had his family names.
Wait till I'm on.
Yeah. Marianne is still interviewing about that.
Thank you, guys. Have a good night. You realize there's no DNA difference. Everybody's like nothing. The tree is like this. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you, guys. Thank you. I texted her this morning. Your friend, I texted her with your call. Rocky. Yeah, it was so nice. Yeah, thank you for telling me. Oh, my God. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm going to remember that. Tell the inspectors, leave me alone.